Good evening. Welcome to Tea Time Talks. This one is the first one in a few weeks. Tonight we're going to be focusing on fertility and figuring out fertility, the importance of getting it right, and potentially what could happen if we don't get it right. This evening we are joined by David Girvan and we're joined by Richard Baker, two fantastic Stabiliser farmers. Also this evening online we've got Ursula. Give us a wave, Ursula. And we've got Katie as well. Behind the scenes, we've got Andrew doing all the questions as well. So look, let's kick off. Ursula, if you want to just stick yourself on mute, Katie, and we'll get going. So fertility is obviously a big, important part when we're looking at a suckler enterprise. One of the biggest factors in the profitability of that suckler enterprise. And tonight we've got 30 minutes to discuss all the options around it, what can happen, what we need to do, what we need to focus on, numbers, and the importance of getting it right. For those that have never met me before, my name's Seth Wareing. I'm the business manager at Stabiliser Cattle Company. And we're joined here by David Girvan. David, if you'd like to introduce yourself, give us a little very brief overview on who you are, where you farm, and what you're doing here this evening.
Yeah, thanks, Seth. I farm Corrimony Farm, which is west of Inverness in the Highlands of Scotland. So farm it with my wife and parents. We've got about 150 suckler cows. Breeding replacements and selling breeding stock, and then we've got about 900 ewes as well. So that's the basics of what we do.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Very pleased you can join us this evening. And Richard, if you're a seasoned veteran at this now, but if you'd like to introduce yourself and give us a brief overview of your farm.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Richard Baker. I farm in the Peak District, about 1,000 feet. I have about 30 Stabiliser suckler cows, taking everything through to finish or for breeding stock, and then sheep as well. And also 5 days a week building domestic properties, houses, that sort of thing as well.
Fantastic. So we might as well start with you, Richard. If you've got another business aside of farming, it must be important that you have the right animals that allows you to do both jobs at the same time.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical, really. I think when I went into the Stabiliser, I was at the point where we'd had enough of sucklers, and we're going to just do dairy calf to beef sort of system, but not really. You're not really as invested in the business then. I think you can't really control things. You can't improve and how you want things to be. So when I came across the Stabiliser, went to a few open days, and thought, this really could work, and also work while I'm building as well with lower labour input. So yeah, Stabiliser is definitely a key to my successful farming business, really.
Fantastic. So how long have you had the sucklers on the farm?
We've had sucklers for forever, really, but Stabilisers, I think it's for 4 years, something like that. Yeah.
So you're still fairly young on that Stabiliser journey, but yeah. The cow bit is the important bit, and the bit we're focusing on this evening. The importance of getting that right for somebody that is has another business off the farm is got to be fairly important.
Yeah. We need cows that calve. We need cows that get in calf, and we want as shorter calving period as possible. They do pretty much calve themselves, probably to get checked twice a day in the height of calving, and then later on in the year it'll go down to once a day. We don't seem to really have any problems with doing that. But again, if we want a tight block, so good fertility is very important, so we can get cows calved and move on to the next job.
So when you talk about a tight block, what sort of how long is that calving period? So therefore, how long is your bulling period?
Usually 9 weeks. I would love to get it down further. which is a bit of an ambition, but yeah, definitely I think a target for the future. And then taking the bulls out and then cull anything that is not in calf will be the way to keep your fertility high and also keep your calving period short.
Fantastic. So, David, let's just bring you in at that point because I know you've gone that next step, haven't you? What does your calving period look like?
Yeah, we'd been 9 weeks for as long as I can remember. Really, Dad always had it at 9 weeks, but yeah, I was just finding that last couple of weeks you'd maybe have 1 or 2 cows calves. So we started bringing it in, and well, the plan last year was to get to 7 weeks, but for whatever reason, I was three days over that till I got the bulls out. So yeah, 7 weeks is the plan this year again. So yeah, I suppose it gives the cows right at the start of the cycle. They get 3 chances, and then especially using young bulls now, it just gives them an extra 3 chances. And the ones later on the cycle, yeah, they get two turns at the bull. So.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people always question this 9 week, and especially in your case, David, going down to just over 7 weeks. It's a big mind change for people that perhaps have used to having 12 or 15 weeks that the bulls are in for and calving. What sort of numbers of cows are you getting in calf during your bulling period?
We'd normally be round about the 95% in calf. I'd probably be our average. Last year, I think we were 6% not in calves. So, but for me, we could get that down a couple of percent by leaving the bulls out a couple of weeks. But it's not worth it.
No.
To me.
No.
If I get paid up by calving, there's not a lot to do at calving. It's just having to be there all the time. I like to be about on the farm when we're calving. So yeah, it's a bit of a tie. So
yeah. And what do you do with those cows that aren't in calf? Do you give them another chance, or do you? What happens?
Everything's. I'd never keep. Nothing gets a second chance. There's odd ones in the past. I have for some reason that I thought it wasn't their fault, but yeah, normally you regret it. So, so no, they're down the road.
Yeah, and I think especially this year, I think that's a really good example that with the beef price being where it is, to cull a cow and to put a heifer in its place is not financially different in prices, is it?
Yeah, no, that's it. There's not a lot in it, so yeah, it's a no-brainer, and I think it. Some cows they maybe have other issues that there's probably a reason behind them not getting in calf, because you as well get rid of them in case something flares up again. So yeah, best go on.
Exactly, and I think that's a really key point. Actually, if a cow is not in calf within that 9 week, or in your case 7 week period, David, there's a reason she's not in calf. And that could be she's got lower fertility. So do you want to be keeping replacements from that cow? Has she had a problem at calving? Does she throw bigger calves? Is she just one of those cows that doesn't cycle properly, or perhaps is not in a decent enough body condition? And all of those things, you have to ask yourself, are those the sort of females that we want to be building our herd up from? Or, do we want those cows that are always in that first cycle? Do we want those cows that always split that calf out and get back in calf? So, in effect, we kind of create that herd of ghost cows. They're the cows that we never see, we never have to put our hands on, we never have to go near. And invariably, like you said, David, that if you've, on the odd occasion, you have given a cow another chance, it's come back and bit you, that perhaps you should have never done that in the first place.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's that thing, as you say, the cows you never really see, you never know about are the ones you want. They're the ones that just get on with it and do the job good. They're not, extremes in any way. That's what I'm after.
Yep.
A cow that does it well, does everything well, and that's what I'm after. So
Perfect. And for Richard, I'm assuming that that your culling policy is exactly the same. That you don't give anything that's not in calf during that 9-week period a second chance.
Yeah, exactly the same really on the fertility side. Culling in general, I'm very hard on. If I notice an animal for any real reason, that's a bad reason, then it's not doesn't really stay very long.
Yeah.
Whether if we carve outside, so there's temperament or any teat issues, udder issues. We focus quite heavily on good udders because we can't be getting calves in and suckling them with ease in the middle of a field. So they really are called for any problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm assuming it's equally important that if you need to be around at any time, you only want to be around for that 9 weeks. After that, the cows are out to be cows looking after themselves.
Yeah, the shorter the better, isn't it? Really, the calves always do better because they're more compact a group. Your vaccinations and wormers and everything work better together. Yeah, you can do the whole bunch instead of having to split how you do things. And then you can get, because we're calving in April, we've not really got much leeway to take them into the winter still on the cow. So we want to be weaning in the end of October off the cow. So if we have an extended calving period, that's not going to work for our winter system. Yeah. So yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, it is, and I think having that compact calving period, I don't think people perhaps understand or appreciate the benefits that can come from having that compact period. So it's like say, not just around for when you're calving, but the fact that all your vaccinations are done at the same time. When you're coming to, at 15 months later come to bulling, they're all bulling at the right period. They're not all coming dribs and drabs. And when you're selling, if you're selling as stores, then you've got a nice packet to be selling together. If you want to sell as fat or nearly finished animals, there to have a bunch that are all fairly even makes selling so much easier, and so much more profitable, because those animals that are at the tail end of your calving period, they're the ones that you're never going to get as much for. They're the ones that are always having to, be needed to be caught up. And so, from a returns point of view, if you can have this nice compact calving period, then you've got a better product to be selling, whether that's as breeding stock or as fat stock or as stores or whatever. Now, obviously, we're in the middle of bulling at the moment. Everyone's got bulls out with the cows. Richard, how many cows do you run, and then how many bulls do you run, and what sort of numbers do you give each bull?
Well, at the moment we're only at 30. We've not gone up in numbers, like I say, because mainly I've culled quite hard and really trying to chase some good genetics. Improve what we've got before we expand, start off from a good base. So we've got one bull at the moment, but this year, for the first year, we have synchronized and AI'd the cows, and they're just coming over now in the last few days. And I think that's gone fairly well. I think we're sitting about 70%. So fairly happy with that, yeah.
Good. And that's cows and heifers you've AI'd?
Yes, everything, yeah. And then we're just sort of at the point now where we've maybe taken a few to the bull, just to sweep up what hasn't been caught by the AI, and then in a few weeks' time we'll turn the bull in with them, just so it doesn't make them come into heat for any reason. So that's looking pretty good. And then I say one bull to the 30. The first year that we started, we bought a yearling bull and put him straight in with 30, and fantastic results, all in calf, no problem. So
good. So just to clarify that, then your yearling bull would be what, 14, 15, 16 months old?
15, yeah, 15 months, yeah.
Yeah, and so you ran a yearling bull with 30 heifers and cows.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he coped all right with that sort of number.
Yeah, no problem. So.
Good. And so, David, you're running a few more cows. What sort of numbers of do you put to each bull?
Yeah, normally yearling bull I put out at between 20 and 25. I've done more in the past, but generally round about that. I generally run more bulls, being a breeder, trying new genetics and that. So my kind of 3-year-olds, I would maybe put them between 30 and 40. Yeah, in the past, before I signed up as a multiplier, generally mature bulls I'd put with 50 cows would be, yeah, I'd be quite happy with that.
Yep. And when you talk of those numbers, you're still talking a 9-week bulling, aren't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, would have been in the past, yeah.
So again, I think the important thing there is to make sure that your bull is capable of working, and also your cows are in the right body condition and ability to hold when the bull is out there. And if you're asking a bull to go and serve 50 cows, a lot of people would think that's a big high number. And he's got to work pretty hard in that, especially in that first cycle. If he's out with 50 cows, he could be he could be getting 35 of them in that first cycle alone. So that first 3 weeks he's got to be ready. Now, what do you do to prepare your bulls before they go out, David?
They all get fertility checked by the vet, so we do that, and then just make sure they're in reasonable condition. I can't say I stress too much about my bulls. As long as they're in reasonable condition, I don't try and have them super fat or anything. Just say them in the middle, and they get on with it. And they generally, especially the numbers I'm putting them with, they pretty much come through without losing any condition. Some will probably put on condition because they're in generally better grass. So as long as they're fertility checked, obviously their feet and that, make sure they're okay. But I find they just get on with it, so I don't stress too much about it.
No. So that for you then, the bull has to be in good working condition. Not necessarily rolling fat. He doesn't want to be shiny, but he's if he's got to go and jump all these cows and potentially walk a good distance as well, he wants to be able to do that. When the vet coming to do the fertility check, what sort of things does he check?
They take semen samples, and they just generally do a health check over the bull. Make sure everything's heart and everything, things like that, organs are sounding as they should. So so that's it. They just make sure he's looking okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So that he can go and do what he needs to do, because at the end of the day, this is why we buy the bull, isn't it? This is the most important 9 weeks on the farm. If he doesn't quite work at this point, then we could end up in a bit of a hole. Richard, do you do all the fertility checks and everything else as well?
I was a little bit naughty last year and didn't do the fertility check, and it did bite me.
Yeah.
We had a bit of an issue with, we had a bit of an issue with him getting sunburnt, and I think that was the reason. And then we had a lot of cows coming over, and it did mess the calving pattern up a bit last year. So definitely learnt from that lesson, and tip to anyone: get your bulls semen tested before you use them. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really important point, because you'll have seen it. You definitely saw it last year that actually you bought a bull. He worked fantastically the year before, no problems whatsoever. Stopped everything he was put with, and then it'll be fine. I won't bother doing it again. But actually, quite a lot can happen in that 12 months of a bull's life, and especially something as challenging as sunburn, or it can make a big impact on that. So that fertility of the bull is a big one. But obviously, the other side of the equation is making sure that the cows are in a position to get in calf as well. When we go back, what sort of age, Richard, would you put your heifers with the bull?
We're sort of targeting the 14, 15 month age. Some, if they're a bit in the later in the block, will still go to the bull at the same time. and sometimes we've had a particular cow which came from an autumn calving herd that ended up with the calf being a bit younger. We've held it back a little bit and then bulled it. So we have had heifers calving at 21 months. No problem with the calving. I wouldn't try to do it, but to keep them in the block, it's ended up being 21 months without any problems. So just shows even if you push them a little bit further, they're still, good to do it. So
good. And David, you'd be similar, would you?
Yeah, just the same. Yeah, aim to calve them all at 2-year-old. So yeah, we've done that for as long as I can remember as well. So.
And do you find any problems with bulling them so young and calving down at 2? Is there any problems for them on the longevity side of things?
No, don't find any trouble. We are good to them first summer that they calve, and then we keep them separate for the cows. Our cows are outwintered on the hill, the mature cows, so they have 2 calves before they'll go to the hill. So yeah, we look after them. They're not, certainly don't spoil them, but yeah, we've got to be a bit better to them. But no, longevity, don't find any issues at all.
Fantastic. And would you get the vet to check over your heifers before they go out?
I do now, because I check all selling breeding heifers, check all of them. So when the vet's there, I check them as well. But yeah, I probably wouldn't bother if not. If they happen to be a free martin and not getting calf, well, they just go to slaughter anyway. So but yeah, it's fine to know.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you've just touched on there is actually, so everything you sell or everything that we sell as a breed, they are all checked before they leave your farm, just to make sure that they are, like I say, not a free martin, that they're fit for breeding, and that they can go and do what they need to do as well. Now, we are, for most people, probably halfway through the calving, the bulling period at the moment. Is there anything that you're checking, you're keeping an eye on to make sure that everything's working, or what would you be doing at the moment, David?
Yeah, just keeping an eye on bulls, really. Yeah, accidents happen, so make sure they're all still fit and healthy. We'll jot down numbers if we see cows getting bulled, to see if we see them coming back around, but we don't spend a lot of time. Yeah, the other thing I never mentioned, we swap bulls maybe after 4 weeks, so that the last cycle we generally put groups together into bigger groups. I hate having small groups of cattle, so we'll and now that everything's getting DNA parentage checked, we know who the sire is, so that's a bit of reassurance for us. But yeah, just mainly making sure the bulls are fit and healthy still.
Fantastic, good. And Richard, is there anything that you do while they're out bulling at the moment? Anything that you keep an eye on or do differently?
I use the Astrotech Stickers, just so you can observe when they've been rubbed off and when they've been in bulling. If you've happened to miss it, and note them down, especially with the AI in, to work and do, just to see how successful we've been really at an early stage before scanning. Yeah, that's the only thing really. Yeah,
would you replace those stickers every 3 weeks, or do you just put them on at the start of the season?
Put them on and then when they've rubbed off, put another one on, and just keep an eye on it. So obviously, hopefully, put one on at the start of the season, and then they will be rubbed off, and then we will put another one on, and then hopefully that doesn't get rubbed, and then obviously we'll know the date, and we should be 20 days roughly apart with that as well. So it's just to keep a check on everything, really, make sure everything's going right. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's not going right, what would you do?
I don't know. Try and change something. Get me bull semen tested, obviously.
Yeah, by which time it might be a bit late, but Get on the phone quickly and see if there's another ball floating around somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Good. Right. Now, we have had a few questions coming in, but we've got 3 minutes left. With all of this happening so quickly, it's amazing how time flies. We've had a question coming in about feet. Do you bother looking at feet or trimming feet for your animals? David?
I do trim the bulls. Our bulls are out wintering quite a stony bit, so I find to get stones, bulls are bad for getting stones lodged in their feet. I don't know. I know some people don't get bothered, but it's something we've always had with different bulls. So we'll pair their feet. If it's due overgrown, I don't house bulls any. I don't stand for that, but just give them a wee pair and keep them fit and healthy.
Yeah, Richard?
We'd do a ball if it needed doing, but it's not a necessity. Just to keep an eye on them as long as they're good, then they're good. So
good. And then we've had another question coming in about AI. You mentioned that you said it was about 70% were holding. Would you find that would be typical?
Well, it is the first year I've done it, so and that is synchronized as well. So I think that's pretty good, really.
Yeah.
David,
have you ever done AI?
Yeah, we did AI this year. Done a bit in the past. Yeah, I'd be delighted with 70%. I don't know what our average, maybe be around about 60. But yeah, it's good. It's a good way to get some new genetics in.
Yeah, and do you synchronize or do you do natural service?
No, synchronize. Yeah. So there's not a lot of the AI man that comes to us. He's a good hour away, so it's difficult to get a hold of AI people. So at least if it's synchronized and you're doing a decent number at a time.
Yeah.
Good. Right. Well, I'm just conscious that is our 30 minutes up. Time always flies when we're on these Tea Time Talks. But look, if anybody out there has got any other questions or any questions that we didn't get round to answering this evening, we will get back to you and we'll respond to those. Anybody wants to find out any more information about stabilisers, then please head over to our website, stabiliser.co.uk. Look us up on the socials. We're on all of the social channels. We have got, so if anybody's in a position where they need a ball, there are still some balls about, if anybody wants any of those, or if anybody's interested in getting some females, once they've done their PD session, then please get in touch with us on that one. I'd just like to thank David and Richard for joining us this evening. I think you'll all agree it's been a fantastic session this evening, and something that we perhaps definitely need to pick up on next time round. Anybody wants to get in touch with either of the guys that were on tonight, then please get in touch with us and we'll pass the questions on for you. But thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to catching up with everybody on the next Tea Time Talk. Thank you.